International emergency teams are continuing their search for any remaining survivors of the powerful twin earthquakes that hit Venezuela last week. Nearly 200 buildings have completely collapsed, and the death toll is now close to 1,500. Tens of thousands of people still remain unaccounted for. Now, interim President Delcy Rodriguez visited the heavily affected area of La Guaira on Sunday, under pressure for what many see as the government's lack of response. Yinka Ayatate reports.
A palpable grief hangs over Venezuela after 2 earthquakes struck, and that grief is now giving way to anger. Families say they are being forced to carry out rescue efforts themselves, digging through rubble with little more than their bare hands, because heavy machinery has yet to arrive.
I pulled my daughter halfway out. I pulled her out. They just come to take pictures. They don't help us, and they won't let us into the disaster zone. They don't give us any equipment, and we have families in there.
We want support. We want heavy machinery. We want to take our family members with us. I'm not the only one in this situation.
Their frustration is being echoed across the hardest hit areas, where residents accuse authorities of responding too slowly. In La Guaira state, access remains tightly controlled, with special permits needed to enter. Volunteers hoping to help have found themselves instead stuck in long queues, unable to reach those still trapped. Survivors are also pleading for better security along with urgently needed food, clean water and medicine. Interim President Delcy Rodriguez insists recovery is underway.
We have already recovered 75% of the electricity service. Teams will continue working until electricity is completely restored in La Guaira. It's the same with water, which is 68% recovered.
Looting is adding to the chaos, with pharmacies, supermarkets and other businesses being ransacked. While some blame opportunists, others say desperation is driving people who have lost everything in a country that was already struggling long before the earthquake struck.
Elinor Raikes is head of program delivery overseeing the International Rescue Committee's programs in Latin America. She joins me now live. Elinor, first of all, what's the latest you're hearing from your teams on the ground on the situation there in the earthquake zone?
Thanks for having me. As you might expect with this kind of natural disaster, every day since it happened has revealed more and more of the devastation. So our teams on the ground are telling us that each day that passes makes them realize just how significant the impact has been, how widespread the humanitarian needs are, and how complex it's going to be to mount and deliver an effective response to this. These earthquakes were very significant in terms of their direct impact. Hundreds of multi-story buildings destroyed, aftershocks compromising the relief effort, and search and rescue continuing. But this is also a natural disaster that happened in a country that was already experiencing very significant economic turmoil, economic collapse and displacement crisis. So this is a country that had pre-existing vulnerabilities that are going to make this even harder to respond to.
What's it like for NGOs like yours or others who are on the ground at the moment? Are they able to get access to the worst hit areas, or is there even difficulty getting access due to what you were just saying?
We have teams on the ground, and they have been able to get to the impacted areas. We also work very closely with a number of trusted Venezuelan local organizations, which allows us to have, even wider spread and work with organizations that were already working in the area. But earthquakes always have this challenge where you have the logistical challenges in physically getting to the area. The airport was damaged, telecommunications down, water systems compromised. There's a lot that comes with an earthquake that means that it's compounding the challenge of getting emergency relief to those that need it most. So it is still quite complicated, but we are able to get at least basic relief items to impacted communities, critical medical supplies to frontline health services. But this is going to be a response that's going to require a weeks and months long effort, not days and weeks.
Elinor, as you've been speaking, we've been seeing some live images coming from Venezuela of the search and rescue efforts. It has been over 4 days since these 2 earthquakes hit. Is there any hope for survivors still at this point?
I think the search and rescue continues, and it's important, I think, for those involved in that not to give up hope. But obviously, every day that passes, sadly, the chances of survival do diminish. There are tens of thousands of people still missing and unaccounted for. So it's important that the search and rescue effort continues as long as it can, alongside a dramatic scale up needed of basic food, water, shelter, other relief supplies for people who are lost their homes, too afraid to go back to their homes, and many residential buildings still considered unsafe. We have teams report. My team is reporting that there are many people sheltering in schools, in open spaces, in parks, without the basic things they need. Children too afraid to sleep. This is really, we are still in the early days of this, of the aftermath of this earthquake, and the needs are quite critical.
How many international organizations like yours are in the area now, and what kind of cooperation is there between all of you?
Cooperation and coordination is so important in the early days of a natural disaster. I think it's really amazing, the international response to this. And so there's been a lot of new responders arriving in the country, in addition to organizations like ours that were already present. And coordinating the relief effort is so important. I think it is happening, but it's obviously can be chaotic in the early days. After a big disaster like this. One additional challenge on top of the fact that Venezuela was already a country with 8 million people in humanitarian need, with very under-resourced public services, was the fact that Venezuela, like many other countries around the world, was really hit by dramatic cuts to foreign aid, to humanitarian funding. So many organizations in Venezuela over the last year have had to scale down or even close their services. So that is going to be an additional complicating factor as we try to mount a robust response to this disaster, unfortunately.
Elinor, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us, and thanks to all of your workers from the International Rescue Committee who are working now there in Venezuela. Thank you very much.
Thank you.